young adventurers? Are you lounging in your comfort zone? It might feel nice, but guess what? It's just like stagnant water. And what do we find lurking there? Mosquitoes. Yuck. These pesky critters are like those negative thoughts that drain your creativity. They'll suck the life out of your dreams if you let them. But look at this. Be like free-flowing water. Always moving, always learning, always becoming better. So let's splash out of that stagnant zone and kick those mosquitoes to the curb. Embrace the adventure, ignite your ideas, and watch your future bloom. Remember, stagnant water attracts mosquitoes. Stay fresh, stay flowing. Let's go. Dare to flow.
Know about rolling down in the deep. Down in the deep. Right here. About rolling. What you gonna do? Rolling. What you gonna do now? Down in the rolling. What you gonna do? Right, don't be loving this.
Good evening. There we go. I'm on the big screen. There we go. Just like I like it. I hate it when it's all tiny up in that corner. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome to another episode of Black and Blue. The podcast is just for you, where we go live weekly. We go live at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And when we go live with the first responder or law enforcement officer, whether they're rookie, seasoned, or retiree. And we talk about their trainings, experiences, and their publications. And we're not going to fall short. We got a great show lined up for you today. I'm excited to bring the show to you. Some of you are probably upset because I know this is another recording, so therefore we're not going to be able to be live. I'm not going to be able to put the comments on the post them on the screen here, and whatever you put in the comment section, I'm going to have to get back to you at another time because I got something going on right now at the time of the live. But this is a good topic. I got to attend a convention not too long ago, and I got to meet a ton of great people, make a ton of good connections. I got to talk about many new topics. Some of those topics will be on here, shared on here, and some of those interviews will be on there of the people that I met. But we gotta get the intro out. I'm sorry, I didn't introduce who I am. Some of you guys may already know me, but other guys, you may not. I'm your motivational speaker, your empowerment coach, your author, and your favorite baker's favorite baker. I'm Coach Clee coming at you. Yes, you spell it Clee, C-L-E-E, which stands for Continuing Law Enforcement Edutainment, because we entertain and we educate right through here on this platform. Yes, I'm the Crimes Code, the Book of Ecclesiastics, Code 302. I'm the coldest code switching detective, and I'm out here trying to move the needle one podcast at a time, humanizing the badge and having fun while we're doing it. We got a good topic, a good lineup. We're going to be talking about the Keystone Konnection, some of the seminars, some of the things that I learned while I was out there. We're going to talk about deepfake on how things have evolved from what you may or may not already know about it. We got a Sergeant Be Safe cartoon that ties in from last week on human trafficking, where Maya, she said something before things got out of control. Well, this one kind of goes hand in hand with the video last week, but we have a new character who kind of let things go a little too longer, and some of the ramifications with that. We'll have Sergeant Be Safe explain that. We're also going to have a deep fake video explainer to bring us up to speed. Also, most of you may not know, but we have since May 20th, not too long ago of 2025, the Take It Down Act was signed. So therefore, those who have pictures or pornographic, of course, I have to say it a different way, photos that were not them, but are on the online on the internet, they are able to come down now. I know a lot of people have been combating that. What else? Let me go to my form here. We got the explanatory, like I said, some of the interviews. We got Pax Rana from Pin Drop. He's on here for a little while. We got James DeGori, the mail fraud and law enforcement. He's on here. We got a panel from the Keystone Konnection. They were talking about the adjustments, things that are currently going on, and how law enforcement, if you're a law enforcement or a first responder, can adjust and be able to adapt to be able to investigate these crimes and how your skills will come into play. We're going to talk about all that. You guys got to see the stagnant water attracts mosquitoes. Starting to be safe, going back from my lab days when we were in the lab, get your pen and your pad. Stagnant water always attracts mosquitoes. So therefore, be like fresh flowing water. Leave those bloodsuckers and leeches alone and keep moving, keep marching forth. And speaking of marching forth, that was my first published book back in 2018 or so, and that was through One Way Publishing. And it's behind me. You really can't see it. It's back there a little bit. I got 4 other published books since that one, so 5 total, but 7 in reality. 2 of them are digital. We won't get into all that. But One Way Publishing, let me get this correct banner going right here. One Way Publishing sponsors here this platform, Black and Blue. The podcast is just for you. It sponsors Sergeant Be Safe, and also it's a book publishing company. So therefore, their motto is they can turn a mere thought into a book that's bought. So if you ever wanted to write your own book, One Way Publishing has many clients that made their dreams come true, and you could be the next one. So make sure you reach out to workwithclee.com. You see that scrolling below, and hopefully it'll be in the name field. Hopefully I'll remember to do that when this actually gets posted, because by the time you're seeing it, understand that I recorded it previously, because we got a lot of things to do. All right. No, I'm forgetting something. That's right. We're on 5 to 7 different platforms. We're on Coach Clee. We're on Black and Blue. We're on One Way Publishing. We are on Clee Tillman. As far as Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. This will also be uploaded on the Spotify. So make sure, if you haven't already, tag, like, share, subscribe. Make sure you guys hit that like button so we can hit the algorithm. We're trying to get out there. Make sure everyone gets this message. I recently got to be on a panel with, I guess you could call it a panel, with Scott Medlin. I appreciate you so much. The 10 Code Mindset and Small Town Policing, and I got to be on with 2 other gentlemen. Make sure you guys check that out on his channel. I appreciate that, and those guys did a hell of a job, better than what I did on the interview or the conversation piece. So check them out. I appreciate them. I appreciate that. I appreciate you, Scott, for letting me come back on your platform and blessing it. But we're gonna move on. We're talking about, let me get the banner up correctly, because I don't want to monopolize too much of your time. We're already about 10 minutes in the show, and we should go ahead and, where are we at? All right. So like I said, we're talking about deepfake. We're talking about how deepfake, we're going to give the background a little bit about deepfake. If you're not understanding what it is, the fraud, it started off as a facial deepfake where you could superimpose someone else's face and put it on someone else's body. So of course, Prawn was doing that. Nudity was going around, and they would have a star celebrity, their actual face on someone else's body, but people, it developed so well that it looked so real that they actually thought it was that celebrity, and the celebrities would fight for a while, online entities on trying to get it taken down, and it couldn't be taken down. So there were deepfake emails going out. Some of them you can recognize. You look at them, they look very suspicious. You don't even click on them. But now they've evolved to where they've actually got the company logo. They're asking for company information, passwords. They want to assume your identity so they can be you. So that way they can siphon or leak some of your information, and therefore basically the currency. They want your money, and it's a growing industry. It's a $1 billion industry, and it keeps rising each year. Some of the latest deepfakes that we've seen are voice deepfakes where you get the phone calls now. Before it sounded very robotic, or it sounded like someone that didn't seem like it was a legit business asking for information. Now, of course, like I use as well, AI voices on some of the Sergeant Be Safe. You can have an AI conversation with a bot, not even know it sometimes, because they can clone voices to make it sound like that actual, like let's say your boss called you, and you thought it was your boss, and they're giving you everything that they normally would say, and you would ask them a question and they can answer that question back. That's how evolved it is. So therefore you have to be more crafty and more cunning on the way you have conversations, develop those conversations. So like I said, phone calls, the bots are able to give responses. They actually have the business phone number. It'll show up as that number, or if it's the email, it'll actually have that business logo on there, and it'll look like a regular email or whatever it may be, but it has that logo, so it looks official. So the fraudsters are evolving. At the Keystone Konnection, we talked with, like I said, Pax Rana, how we basically, essentially, we're putting good AI to combat bad AI in the war against AI and frauding. So we're going to jump right into this show. That's a lot to digest, but we're going to have fun doing it. I'm going to start off back with Maya's on video from how she was almost exposed to human trafficking, and with the Sergeant Be Safe. And we're going to continue on with this video with the Deepfake Dilemma, unmasking the digital deception. Are you safe? Here we go. Maya, bring it home to us.
In this episode of Sergeant Be Safe, we'll discuss cyber crimes and how our children are being targeted. We see Maya working on her laptop. Hopefully, she won't fall victim as she's being preyed on.
Level up! This is so much fun! Hey, what's going on with my laptop? Why is this adult messaging me?
Hello, Maya. Ready for a real adventure? You should be a star. You should send me pictures. I could make you lots of money. Just don't tell your parents or I'll find them, and that'll be very bad.
Hey, Thirsty McSchemes, we better not get caught.
Oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. I'm so scared. Maybe I should just listen to him so he'll go away or he won't hurt my parents. I don't know. I need help.
Now listen up, everyone. At this exact moment when you're confused and frightened, like Maya is right now, is when you need to tell your parents, and your parents contact the police. Before things get too out of control and out of hand, Captain Chaos and I don't want to see you become a victim of a cyber crime or cyber threat. And Maya did the right thing. She told her mother, and her mother immediately brought her to the station to be interviewed by our specialist, Officer Stiletto.
Thank you for taking the time out to speak with us, Sergeant Be Safe and Officer Stiletto. When Maya brought this to my attention, I was very frightened. This is so out of the ordinary, and I didn't know what to do. I wasn't aware that there was a task force and you're a specialist on the team. Until right at this moment, that is such comforting news.
So instead of being embarrassed and hiding the news, Maya's mother made the call and contacted us, which allows us to use our resources to the best of our ability and investigate this crime. We see Inspector Chase Clarity doing research that helps us solve the crime. We also see Officer Stella Stiletto making phone calls and typing up paperwork so we can find the bad guys and have them arrested. We all work together as a team to fight cyber crimes, cyber threats, and potential human trafficking. So because Maya's mother made the phone call, we were able to do the research and utilize the team effectively. Find the bad guys and SWAT Officer Clay Moore, and I effectively arrested the IT evil genius, Chance Wilder, and this new creep, the fiendish foe, Thirsty McSchemes.
Hands up, you both are under arrest. You discussed...
You used my equipment instead of trying to extort money from adults. See?
The team truly came together, and we all worked hard and got to make that successful arrest. Maya is no longer a potential victim. She's now a conqueror. She will now be confident, and her confidence will spread. And that's how we combat crime. This family is back on track. Kids, don't be afraid to tell your parents of suspicious activity. Parents, make sure you contact your local authorities with any questions you may have regarding cybersecurity, cyber threats before they lead into something more dangerous.
And that's your tip of the day to get you on your way.
There we have it. All right. Thank you, Sergeant Be Safe, for that rendition. We saw that last week. For those of you who are seeing it for the first time, we did talk about human trafficking with Jordan Pine and the Green Light Operation. So if you missed that, that was a great interview. Go back and check that out. But that was a video that aired for that. It's kind of launching the conversation piece that we're going to be having on the deep fakes and the Keystone Connections and the frauding, things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and have the next video just play. For those that don't even have never heard of deep fake, don't even know what it is, here, this will be the intro for it, so you have an idea of what it is, how long it's been around, and what's more to how it's evolving. You need to make yourself aware of this, so that way you don't become a victim, or people in your family don't become a victim, because frauding is getting more and more complicated, harder to decipher at. Once you think you got it figured out, then of course that's how things change, and then you learn something else. So here's the video.
Represent a fascinating yet troubling intersection of technology and reality. These images, videos, or audio clips are created using artificial intelligence and sophisticated editing tools, allowing for the manipulation of visual and auditory content in ways that can deceive viewers. By combining elements from various media sources, deepfakes serve as a powerful example of synthetic media. While the concept of creating fake content is not new, deepfakes utilize advanced machine learning techniques, including facial recognition and neural networks, to create disturbingly realistic results that can easily mislead audiences. The rise of deepfakes has raised significant concerns among experts and analysts. Their potential use for malicious purposes, such as creating child sexual abuse material, revenge porn, and financial fraud, has captured widespread attention. The ability to edit real people into fabricated scenarios can have devastating personal and societal consequences. As the technology continues to evolve, the risk of deepfakes being utilized to spread disinformation and hate speech becomes increasingly prominent. This can interfere with democratic processes, especially during elections, where misleading content can sway public opinion and undermine trust in institutions. In response to the growing threats posed by deepfakes, the information technology sector and governments are working to develop effective countermeasures. Research into image forensics is underway to better detect manipulated content, while academic studies are exploring the factors driving deepfake engagement online. This collective effort aims to understand the potential risks better and find ways to mitigate the harm caused by deepfakes, ensuring that the technology does not compromise the integrity of information shared in society. Beyond the realm of pornography and misinformation, deepfakes have been identified as an epistemic threat to knowledge itself. Philosophers and scholars are discussing how the pervasive use of deepfake technology can lead to exploitation, intimidation, and personal sabotage. This concern extends to corporations and public figures who find themselves vulnerable to the damaging effects of deepfakes. The blurred lines between reality and fabrication create a challenging landscape that can lead to serious emotional and reputational harm. The implications of deepfakes also extend into the realm of blackmail. Due to the realism of these fakes, victims of extortion can claim that their compromising materials are manipulated, thereby complicating the dynamics of trust and control in blackmail situations. This phenomenon, known as blackmail inflation, renders real threats less credible and gives victims a form of plausible deniability. As technology becomes more accessible, the potential for creating vast quantities of fake content grows, creating a chaotic environment where distinguishing truth from fiction becomes increasingly difficult. Fraudulent schemes utilizing deepfakes are on the rise, causing significant financial losses globally. Scammers have successfully impersonated celebrities and politicians to trick individuals into investing in fake schemes or transferring money under false pretenses. The Better Business Bureau reports that deepfake-related scams have resulted in around $12 billion in losses, with projections indicating that this number could soar to $40 billion in just 3 years. Such alarming statistics underscore the urgent need for greater awareness and preventative measures against deepfake fraud. Audio deepfakes are particularly concerning as they can be used in social engineering scams that manipulate individuals into acting on false information. A notable incident occurred in 2019 when a CEO was tricked into transferring $220,000 after receiving a phone call from someone using an audio deepfake to impersonate a trusted executive. As technology advances, the ability to clone voices from just a few seconds of audio poses a significant risk for personal and corporate security. This capability enables automated impersonation scams that can target unsuspecting victims with alarming efficiency. To combat the threats posed by deepfakes, experts like Henry Eider from DeepTrace emphasize the importance of preventive measures in the workplace. companies can implement strategies such as using semantic passwords and voice authentication to secure sensitive communications. Educating employees about the risks and signs of deepfakes can also foster a culture of awareness and vigilance, helping to protect against potential attacks that exploit this technology. In a bid to address the serious concerns surrounding deepfakes, new legislation is being introduced. The Take It Down Act, passed in April 2025, criminalizes the non-consensual publication of intimate images, including digital forgeries. This law requires online platforms to establish a notice and removal process for such content, empowering individuals to protect their privacy. As society grapples with the implications of deepfake technology, these legal measures will play an essential role in creating a safer digital environment for everyone.
Just the facts, ma'am.
All right, and so there's an explanation on what deepfake is and how it evolved and different ways it's being used. If you didn't already know, that's just a quick rundown. If you, it's just it kickstarted. So if you need to learn more, you might need to look it up and see exactly where it's been, where it's going. There's a lot of explainer videos that I discovered just floating out there, so you can find yours as well. But this is leading into, so we get a foundation on what it is, where it's going, and of course how, for one, for law enforcement can investigate these crimes and get the bad guys. Secondly, so that we don't become victims ourselves. All right. So therefore, we're going to get, again, like I said, I introduced the show, what Sergeant Be Safe is going to bring in Benny Bate, new character, a friend of Maya, and see what happens if you kind of hang on with the information because you're either scared or embarrassed or don't know what to do before reporting it with either IC3 or your local law enforcement authorities. Well, let's see what happens in this video.
This has been my life lately. It's like a dark cloud hanging over me, just following me around. What else could go wrong?
Hey, Benny. Is everything okay? You've been pouting around for a while and I'm worried about you.
I'm fine. Thanks, Maya. I'm just nervous about this end of year test. Yeah, that's it. Actually, now that we're out of class, let me tell you the truth. Hopefully Miss Gaynor can't hear me. I know she's trying to pay attention, but the other day, I met this new girl online playing rows of blocks, and we were talking and texting pretty much all night. She sent me a couple of pictures of herself, and trust me, I never saw anything like it. But then I gave her my Instagram, and she looked up my parents, my school, all my sports, and every single one of my friends, and told me that if I didn't send her any money through Pineapple Pay, she was gonna send the pictures I sent her to every person I knew. And that's just really embarrassing.
This is way too easy. That's the easiest money I ever made. These boys think they're meeting a girl of their dreams, and then when I catch him in a vulnerable state, I threaten to tell everyone they know, and they send me as much money as I ask for. You would think teachers and parents will warn them about guys like me, but since they don't, welp, oh well.
I thought I could get some money from my parents and send it like they said, and it would all go away, but it didn't. Since I sent money, they asked for more. And each time I sent them more money, they continued to ask for more and more money, until all my friends found out. Now I don't know what to do. I feel like my world is over. Ugh.
Okay, settle down, class. Hey, what's with all this noise and laughter? Benny, is something going on? You haven't been seeming like yourself lately.
Sextortion, huh? Benny Bate, why did you take so long to tell us? The sooner you could have told us, the sooner we could have done something about it. Your mother and I know you're embarrassed, but we're glad you didn't do anything out of the ordinary. Sergeant Be Safe, can you help?
My team and I will definitely take a look and see what we can do to help young Benny Bate here. However, since Benny took too long to tell Miss Gaynor, then told the principal and his mother, too much time has already passed, and these guys move quickly. Well, this is frustrating, but just like we suspected, the fraudster already disabled his account and has disappeared in the wind.
Ah! It feels good to get away and make free money. It's like I'm in my zen. I love it when you people don't report to being frauded. It makes my job easier.
Listen up. Delays make the bad guys vanish into thin air. Benny's caught in a nasty extortion trap, but there's a beacon of hope. The Take It Down bill is our secret weapon. Time to erase those images and bring justice back.
And that's your tip of the day to get you on your way.
All right, and that's a description of it's a regular fraud. It's a sextortion is what it is. We talked about it last week on human trafficking and how young males are actually targeted for that one. Someone they may get their phone number or message them on some sort of gaming app or a social media app, and they believe it's a female. They interact with this female, and eventually they start exchanging pictures. And once the pictures, the photos start becoming more and more graphic, showing different parts of their anatomy, then the boys would start sending their anatomy. They start sending their other links for social media, and then the fraudster would actually get the picture of their anatomy and screenshot a picture of their school, all their friends, they're from their contacts, and start threatening them. Once they're threatened that they're going to post this everywhere and ruin the young man's future if they don't start sending money. And I've been aware of cases like this. They start sending money and it's never enough. Like we always say, once you've been frauded, the fraudster knows they got money from you. They're going to keep coming back and keep getting more and more and more and more money. That's basically what it is. So therefore, that one it's a bit mild. Of course, it's a Sergeant Be Safe cartoon, but it drives the point home so you can understand exactly where it's going, where it's already at, and where it's going, where it's evolving to. And then, of course, the video ended when I'm sorry, I'm getting text messages coming in. Though, of course, the video ended with the Take It Down app. Now, bear with me. I skimmed this reader here. So hopefully I'll be able to cover the highlights of it. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'll put the website in the description box from where I got this information, but I'll also put on, they may be out of order, so you're going to have to bear with me. I'll put the pages up here on the screen, but it's going to be difficult to read. All right. Let me minimize myself. See, when I want to minimize it, it won't do it. Nope. Of course, that's maximizing. Crazy. Nope. There we go. That's the one I want. All right. And the Take It Down Act. Yep. Congressional Research Service, legal sidebar. Take It Down Act, a federal law prohibiting the non-consensual publication of intimate images. Signed Act May 20. This is sent out, I'm sorry, May 20th, 2025. But on April 28th, 2025, Congress passed 146, the Take It Down Act. The bill that criminalizes the non-consensual publication of intimate images, including digital forgeries, i.e. deepfakes, in certain circumstances. It also requires certain websites and online mobile applications identified as covered platforms to implement a notice of removal process to such images at the depicted individual's request. The president signed the bill into law on May 19th, 2025. The bill's criminal prohibition takes effect immediately. While covered platforms have 1 year until May 19, 2026 to establish the required notice of removal process, the legal sidebar provides an overview of the laws prohibiting the non-consensual distribution of intimate images described in major provisions of the Take It Down Act. This analyzes legal questions that may be posed by regulated individuals and entities, Congress, and the courts. Laws addressing the non-consensual distribution of intimate images. Over the past 12 years, states have adopted a range of laws specifically addressing the non-consensual distribution of intimate images, sometimes referred to as a non-consensual PRON. I'm not going to say the word, don't want to get flagged, or revenge PRON. In 2022, Congress passed a law that establishing the federal civil right of action victims of non-consensual prawn as part of a reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act. The law generally authorizes depicted individuals to sue the disclosing party in federal court for money damages or injunctive relief, while some jurisdictions, example given New York, expressively include digitally created or altered images in their non-consensual prawn laws. The federal civil action as originally enacted does not explicitly address such things. As a result, it is not settled whether VAWA, like I said, Violence Against Women Act, right of action encompasses such a digitally modified depiction. Some members of Congress introduced bills in the 118 and 119 Congresses to expand the existing cause of action to create to create a parallel cause of action for images created or altered using artificial intelligence, AI, or other digital technologies. All right, let me see if I can get the highlights down here. Let me see if maybe I didn't have the right page up. I'm sorry. I think that's the page I'm on now. Let me show the page. I don't know. That's the page I was just on. Sorry about that. That's page 1. It downloaded out of order. Please forgive me. But the Take It Down Act. Take It Down Act, the act which stands for the tools and addresses known for exploitation by immobilizing technological deepfakes on websites and network ads, makes 2 main changes to federal law. First, the act amends section 223 and communicates the act. I'm not going to read all the numbers, to add new criminal prohibitions related to publications of intimate images. Second, the act creates new requirements for covered platforms that the FTC would reinforce. Criminal prohibitions. I'm just going to skip down. The criminal prohibitions consist of 7 separate offenses: publications involving authentic, intimate visual depictions of adults, publications involving authentic visual depictions of minors, publications for forgeries for adults, publications involving forgeries for minors, threats involving depictions of adults or minors, threats involving digital forgeries of adults, threats for minors. As these are criminal offenses, in the government bears the burden of proving each element beyond a reasonable doubt. Skipping down, the authentic, intimate visual depiction was not obtained or created under circumstances in which a person knew or reasonably should have known that the identifiable individual had reasonable expectation of privacy, or in that case, digital forgery. The material was published without the identifiable individual's consent. Tongue twister. Sorry about that. And what is depicted was not voluntarily exposed by the identifiable individual in a public or commercial setting, and what was depicted is not a matter of public concern. All right, that's the highlights on page 2 itself. Let me see if I can see some highlights on page 3. Let me see. That is page 3. All right. Going to skip down to the middle a little bit. Notice of removal requirements. The act requires covered platforms to establish specific notice and removal processes by May 19th, 2026. The covered platform is a website, online service, online application, or mobile application. Website or app that serves the public and either primarily provides a forum for user-generated content or publishes, curates, hosts, or makes available content of non-consensual intimate visual depictions in the regular course of trade or business. A covered platform does not include the following: the provider of a broadband internet access service, email, website, or app that consists primarily of the content that the user generated but is pre-selected by the provider, and for which any chat or comment interactive functionally is incidental or directly related to the dependent of the provision of that pre-selected content. That the last exclusion does not apply to website or apps and businesses or publishing or hosting non-consensual intimate visual depictions. All right, I'm not going to read the rest on that. You guys can check it out. I'm going to move to page 4. See if is this page 4? I can't see. I don't think that's the first page. There we go. That's page 4. Let's see what we got here. You're going to skip down a little bit. Legal considerations for Congress. As with any statute, the Take It Down Act may be interpreted by a range of stakeholders, from federal agencies, FTC regulated entities, individuals. Law was designed to protect victims of non-consensual porn, some of whom may disagree with the meaning or scope of certain provisions. One tongue twisted question that may arise is what it means to publish an intimate visual depiction. If a court is asked to decide this question, it may look like an ordinary meaning to publish because the term is not defined for a purpose of the act. Merriam-Webster, for example, defines publish to make generally known, or in one court observed, to disseminate to the public. To a court applying for this definition in the context of Take It Down Act could include that the person did not publish the intimate depiction by sending it to another person through email or direct message, even if the person used an interactive computer service. At least one through email or direct message, even if at least one federal court, however, is construed publishing activity more broadly to include what was then Twitter's direct messaging capabilities. The case involved a different section of the Constitution Act, and an appellate court affirmed the decision of the two grounds. If it were to be concluded to publish ambiguous in the context of the act, it may apply to the rule of lenity, a judicial principle that ambiguities about the breadth of criminal statute should be resolved in the defendant's favor. All right. And I know you guys are making fun of me sounding out some of these larger words. Skipping to page 5. I just saw it here. That one, it is that one. See if anything on here. It's basically a reiteration. I mean, you can see it. There's different sections. It says Take It Down. The Take It Down Act provides a defense if a person is solely provided access to a connection to a form or facility, system, network not under that person's control, including transmission, downloading, intimate storage, access software, or other related capabilities that are incidental to providing such access or connection, that it does not include the creation of the content or the communication. All right. And it goes on to explain that a little further there. And the last page, which I don't have on the screen, got to give a shout out to the author. Information is Victoria Killian, a legislative attorney. All right. And I will get that out of there. I will make sure that is in the description box, so that way you guys can peruse it as well. All right, so make sure you guys tag, like, share, subscribe, hit that like button so we can get that algorithm. We're getting good information out there. So the Take It Down Act is in full effect. Most locations have up until a year to have it and acted upon. Basically, I'm kind of paraphrasing, but it is there. I wish I had a website to give to you. I do not have a website, but I have a website of this article itself. So therefore, it gives you somewhere to lead into. There's a couple news articles that's on it as well. But following up on that Take It Down Act, like I said, I was at the Keystone Konnection seminar, and one of the first interviews I got to get was from Pax Rana, and he is with Pin Drop company, and he explains what his agency does, what Deepfake does, what his agency does to combat deepfakes, and he briefly explains how things to look for, what it is, and how he explains it. He explains it better than how I'm fumbling over the words right now. So I'm just gonna hit play on that video. All right, I just read all that. My tongue's tied and my eyes hurt as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you. We're at the Keystone Konnection here. in State College right now. I got a special guest. Can you tell me a little bit about who you are and what you're doing here at the conference?
Yes, nice to meet you. My name is Pax Rana. I'm with a company called Pindrop and a sales executive there. Pindrop is a leader in voice security and authentication, as well as fraud detection.
Right. And I missed the first part of your speaking topics while we were doing registration yesterday, but I think you and the gentleman that you're here with put on wonderful, provided good information, a lot on 11 Labs, which I told you I was familiar with, and also on Deepfake. Can you talk about a little bit what that is and how Pindrop is aiding the knowledge awareness on that?
Yes, absolutely. So what we focused on is the evolution of deepfakes and how it's grown rapidly within the industry in the last 12 to 24 months, particularly in 2024. We launched a deepfake detection module within our platform, and we saw a rapid increase in deepfakes across financial institutions.
Right.
And so we're bringing that awareness to these organizations, as well as helping them combat this known threat vector, as well as being able to decipher what is a deepfake and the different types of deepfakes that are out there today.
Gotcha. And what are some ways that people are being scammed, frauded, or funds being stolen from them by deepfake activities?
Yeah, sure. So the fraudsters are using synthetic voices to navigate IVRs within financial institutions, trying to bypass knowledge-based questions, one-time password codes, etc. And then once they've been able to navigate through the IVR, then the real humans are coming on and committing fraud against those accounts that have monetary value to them. That's how they're utilizing that technology today. So we are trying to be at the forefront of combating bad AI with good AI. That's our approach.
Got it. And specifically for law enforcement, how can law enforcement use these tools to actually grow investigations and mitigate crime?
Well, I think as we're evolving our product, we're really focused on the types of AI that's being used and the tools, etc. So that will only help. And then further investigating with those organizations as to who is registered or who's subscribing to those services could probably help further do the investigations. But we're really arming our financial institution customers to deter and to protect their customers as well as their organization from these events.
Gotcha. And in conclusion, is there anything else that you would like to close us out with?
Yeah, we're just my first time attending this conference, so meeting some good people and looking forward to listening to some of the conversations later today.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for your time. You enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Just the facts, ma'am.
All right, Pax, thank you for the interview again. His agency arms other agencies. Again, he explained it there for fighting bad AI against good AI. So therefore, you don't have a fraudster or a perpetrator coming into the agency. And I learned at this seminar that insurance agencies, medical agencies are the ones that are being targeted, smaller businesses, because they're not armed with a lot of the security features. They think that since they're a smaller company, they fly under the radar, are the prime targets for these fraudsters. So therefore, he provides tools to help identify what is AI, what could be a deep fake, what could be someone or something coming into the agency or sending a request for an amount of money going out to an account there, and therefore you find out that you've been frauded out of several thousands of dollars and even higher in certain cases. So thank you for that explanation. I appreciate it. We're going to continue talking about frauding, but the next guest I had on here that I got the interview is James DeGori. He's been in law enforcement for, I believe, over 23 years, and he explains now he's on the postal task force, and how frauding is also not only deepfake, but I mean with the mail industry. And we know they say don't mail your checks anymore. The checks can be washed and things like that. Everything, the way how we were taught to conduct business, at least for most of us, is now what is being used against us. And he explains this here. I'm gonna let James take it from here. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I know some of the editing can be a little off a little bit. The audio's pretty decent. And then we'll get to the panel. The panel section, you're gonna have to listen closely. I apologize, but I'll explain that. I'll let James do his thing.
Good, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you. Welcome back. We have a special individual right here. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Sure. My name is James DeGori. I work on the western side of the state of Pennsylvania for by Pittsburgh with Beaver Police Department. I've been in law enforcement for 23 years, and most recently I started as a task force officer, TFO, with United States Postal Inspection Service out of Pittsburgh, attached with mail theft and bank fraud.
Okay, all right. And with that, we're here with the Keystone Konnection, and making good contacts and learning a lot of good information. One thing that you just came off the panel, and you talked about specializing in bad checks and mail fraud and things along those lines. Can you tell us a little bit about certain investigations that you've had and certain trends that you're now seeing that are becoming more apparent?
Sure. So yes. So the check fraud, bank fraud is predominantly what we're dealing with. You know, it's all over the country. Obviously, Pittsburgh's no exception to that. You know, a lot of it is originating, you know, the mail theft side of things, right? They're going after the checks. Once they get the checks, you know, then the checks get washed. Then, you know, faces, if you will, we call them. The faces will end up coming into the banks, you know, after the checks are washed and doing the customer impersonation. Right. So those are the, you know, primary caseload that we're carrying right now.
Gotcha. And are there any certain trends, at least in the area that you know of? Is it the faces that you see? Are they locals, or are they coming from out of state? Or are they coming from maybe not even part of out of the country?
Most of the faces that we see are coming from New York. We get a few local, because a lot of the stuff that we are seeing now, trending wise, as you asked before, a lot of this I believe is trending more to like copycat crimes, if you will. I think the majority of things that we're dealing with are coming from New York. So, you know, the Bronx and the Queens and New York, and those entities, right, are picking the individuals that either have homeless issues, drug addicted, you know, issues, and their work, right. I mean, in every story that we deal with, pretty much, you know, these folks are asked to go make a little bit of money. Hey, you want to come work for me? They have nothing to lose. Yeah. They start working for these crews, if you will, and then once these crews get the checks, then they're getting the IDs made. You know, jumping on whatever sites they can to get the IDs made, U.S. passport cards, throwing these folks, these faces, if you will, throwing their images on the IDs, and then bringing them into Pittsburgh, into Cleveland, into our local areas. And then we also see, I think trending, we're seeing a lot of the copycats. So we do have some localized crews that have learned how to do this, or at least probably hooked up with individuals in other areas that are, you know, have already done this before.
Okay. And with these current trends, what do you think the final outcome is when they finally wash these checks, the faces do obtain the money? Where does the money go from there?
So in most cases, we learn a lot from interviews. A lot of these, the money goes back to somebody, right? Who that somebody is yet to be determined, right? The faces, once they get picked up, you know, local law enforcement will often be successful in making an arrest in the bank. You know, we'll go do those jailhouse interviews, if you will, and those folks are giving up some information as to like, hey, when I come out of the bank, I always give the money to so-and-so. Right. Well, that person then, of course, probably has an individual back home where they're coming from that they're giving the money to. So it's going up the ladder for sure.
Gotcha. And for those who are watching, any financial institution, as far as banks or credit unions, or even regular victims, how can they more so prevent becoming a victim, or how can they protect themselves?
Well, I think, you know, one of the things we talked about in this panel session we just did at the Keystone Konnection was the collaboration between law enforcement and banking, right? I think, in my experience over my career, I think the best thing that we can do in both sides is to have that relationships. So for example, right, like if a bank wants to reach out, or a law enforcement officer, right, wants to reach out to a bank, they have that instant relationship built. You know, we were going to do like a raise of hands in the audience, right? How many people have at the you know, contact in their phone at any given time where they can reach out to their local law enforcement officer and say, hey, look, we just had X, Y, and Z happen at this bank or credit union. Who do you go to call? How do you disseminate that information? I think that's probably one of the best ways to help prevent it, because you know, a lot of these traveling crime groups that are coming in from these other areas into Pennsylvania, they're not just hitting one community, right? They're going to Susquehanna, then they're coming to Pittsburgh, then they're going to Cleveland, Ohio, right? And they're just traveling. So if that information can be shared out immediately, I think that's one of the better ways to help combat some of this.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. And information sharing and having those good connections are going to conferences such as this. How beneficial? Well, first, how long have you been coming to these conferences, and how beneficial have you seen it being throughout the course of your career?
So I've been attending these Keystone Connections for well over a decade. I was fortunate enough to get onto like a board panel, if you will, back on our Western District out of the Pittsburgh Metro chapter. I felt the need and I saw the advantages of this organization and being a part of it. And again, I think if anything, right, you come to these conferences, we do a Keystone Connection once a year. Individually, each chapter has their own internal, you know, trainings that they'll do throughout the year. But this is an opportunity to come statewide, right? Pennsylvania, Delaware, Jersey, right? Philadelphia. We can all come together. We can meet each other. You have face-to-face interactions with individuals. So now when I pick up the phone, it's not a cold call to a bank. Hey, I met you last year at the Keystone Connection, right? Oh yeah, I remember you, that type of thing. So it's building those personal relationships with the banks and with law enforcement, and then just networking, and just, you know, just meeting each other like we're doing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, I don't want to monopolize too much more of your time. I appreciate you. Thank you for the interview. Thank you for taking the time out to explain this to us. And again, for all intents and purposes, we actually got to hang out a little bit last night. So it just kind of led off into the more business professional side of being the interaction as well. So that's another key component to the Keystone Connection conference, is you get to have fun and you get to learn simultaneously.
Absolutely. Yes. Well said.
Just the facts, ma'am.
All right. Thank you, James, for that interview as he discussed on different styles of mail fraud and different how making connections, banking fraud. And it leads right into the next segment as well. He explained it very well. We could have went on and on about with the conversation, but I just wanted to briefly touch on certain topics that kind of get it top of mind for all of you that are listening. If it's your first time on the platform, welcome. This is good information. If not, thank you for sharing this information. Tag, like, and share, but it's worthy information to be addressed for law enforcement moving forward. And also, again, so we don't all become victims of the new technology that is sweeping across. Technology is growing faster than we're learning. And so therefore it's taking full advantage of us, and to keep pace with it is a perfect way to minimize becoming a victim or helping out friends and family as well. All right. So those of us, now we're going to transition to this part of the interview. This Matt Dotz is no stranger on the show. Thank you, Matt, for everything you've done for anything cybersecurity, cyber awareness, cyber frauds. He's also an investigator himself. He's sitting on this panel that I'm going to showcase here. Understand that so certain portions, small portions, not too bad, are kind of very difficult to hear. I was sitting a distance away during this panel, but it's good information. It's good information for law enforcement officers and first responders, either who may want to transition and start doing this kind of doing these kinds of investigations full time, or if you want to stay in the role of law enforcement, to understand it better, so that way you can actually build a network or fight this kind of crime and be more effective with it. All right, so I'm going to join in this panel. Listen up. It's great information. It's good information sharing. And tag, like, share, subscribe. Here we go.
I was for medical government, now working for 2 different banks, Watermelon and PMC. And I can see if each of those is different, right? And when you transition, like, you gotta understand the goal of a pure employment.
Because now the first thing you're going to say is you take the king's money to do the king's bid, right? And so
when we agree with the different, and work with, and I know in our meetings, this for chapter meetings is not flexible to law enforcement kind, not applicable in nails, right? That's your senior name. Like TBL and Jim too, like he works in task force. I think the main thing is protect Heber, right? Your borough. We work for private sector. You're working for that business. and they worked for a problem. And I worked with, when I was in Melbourne, you want to know us, you know, and do a Wall Street bank, and they aren't like a Wall Street bank. And they were like, well, you file with SARS, and they hand them in, and we protect the pack. That's what we do. ENC, it's a little bit different. You have an AMO officer that's very much into fighting crime, fraud, and so he's much more involved in that type of stuff. But no, when you get into the bank, that they're in there, you're in case protect the bank, and with whenever job, make sure you tell us what purpose of what they're paying to or what their goal.
So, as the only member of the panel with a not law enforcement experience, I'll give you the banking perspective. And if you know that now, if you know my son, let's tell you how it is. So, I'll be honest, law enforcement, we make the jump into the banking sector. It is a culture shock for you. It is no longer a paraphernalia organization where people do things because they said the true things. It's a temple growing bankers and people working on. Corporate America will tell you. And so, as law enforcement, if you transition into the private sector, that first the nodal, and I'm sure Matt and that was see what's other than his spot. Secondly, as a hiring manager, this that I manage well, when we look for individuals that are coming in, there's an assumption, unfortunately, because you're a hack, you can get a job, and that is 100% the worst thing in the side where to dictate to yourself, because most of your skills you've learned through the decades of law enforcement, the amount of your service, have zero applicability to what we do in a banking work. There is some collaborations between investigations and skills, etc. But the banking world is just, and I'll tell you, it's a different place. Thank you for that. Okay. There's a reason you don't see a lot of families going to law enforcement. You see a lot of law enforcement kind of going into banking ways, just that in the group. Third thing I'll say is, when I'm going and looking for jobs here and there, and if you're looking for new opportunities, understand, as Chris mentioned, who you're going for. There are certain organizations that love to hire federal agencies. Nothing on those agencies, etc. But they're going to have really agency guys who retire at 30 years for your immediacy running their top level of professional romance. They tend to hire a lot of their brothers as well. From my perspective, I stay away from those organizations and turn down many opportunities to get large organizations governed by that, because I know what the culture is going to be like. I know I'm not part of the club, essentially, as a non-retired agent. And so when you look for opportunities, don't wish for the job. Look at the org structure, see what it looks like on following that, because that's the culture you're going to get yourself into. And the only reason I think you like that, that's great for you guys. For certain people, it doesn't work for me.
Cause how we talk to each other, the cop shop does not fly in other fans.
Oh yeah, no, I can't say it. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I made a mistake. I used to slip back into calm mode, and they would comment, and you learn quickly that stuff doesn't work. But I've been in the band in 2 weeks, and I'm sitting there. Everything's very sterile. And someone just dropped an F-bomb, just help me out. So that hasn't worked. Another thing that you have to understand is that I had been there. First, you'd go in, and there's a girl named Abby sitting in a cubicle there, and had small buckling there. You come in the second week, she's not there. I'm like, oh, she's on vacation or whatever, right? So next week, I pay attention to war. She's not there. The cubicle's clean. So I'm like, hey, where's Abby at? Well, she got fired. Did they do that here? In policing, unless you physically fight the chief, you're probably not going to get fired, right? You can do bad things, but the union and the barking association will fight really hard to keep you, no matter what stupid thing that you do. If you are not valued to private organization, they're going to get rid of you quickly. And you mess up, they get rid of you. So that's something that you have to learn, right? You can't spell law. You can't run your mouth. You can't Oh, I'm just gonna sit over here, and the mill is watching me. That stuff's always playing.
You go watch Rehab and Tackler. Well, my journey was actually interesting because when I retired, I didn't have a job. So I was off for like 4 months. And between my wife saying, you really need to find something to do. And thanks to Linda Johnson, there was an opening, and I went into Remote Financial. And I was a suit guy. I wore a suit to work every day. So when I got hired there, I started wearing a suit. And after about 8 days, I got called in and said, yes, I'm for the suit. You wasn't playing it. Business casual. I like to, okay. What these guys were saying is exactly true. And I would actually even say I've been weight room worker in the last 10 days traveling. But up until like even my last day there, I'd have to like go, because you get off the phone and what an idiot can't stay that because they frown at and then they play English shatter and it circles around and it comes back and says, no, you will, and watch people say that you're no workers. So that continues to be an interesting part that we're going.
Just the facts, ma'am.
All right. I know that was a little difficult to hear at some parts. It seemed like they were speaking another language or had an accent. Again, I'm sorry for the location where I was sitting and while filming that, but a lot of good information there. I appreciate the panel. I appreciate that was at the Keystone Konnection annual conference. The East and West side of the state met in the middle, had a conference. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of very good information, a lot of connections being done, a lot of good information, a lot of information I've shared here. I hope that we at least touched on every single base or a lot of bases to kind of keep it top of mind, kind of put something new in your head, kind of understand what to look for, where things are going. Again, we did talk about it. We started this podcast with the Maya human trafficking incident. Then we faded from there to the deepfake, explaining what the deepfake video was and the evolution of it from the primary stages all the way up into where we're at now, where we're going. We then started to be safe. Talked about how we kind of went into sextortion with Benny Bate and how long he waited because he was embarrassed. And, a lot of reasons why young males are targeted is because of, this young and horny and wanting to see and do things. But then there was the power of social media. That video touched on it lightly, very, very lightly. But it's another primary reason why some of our young men and women or juveniles are self-deleting because of incidents like this, and it gets posted and they're embarrassed and they can't figure out how they want to move on with it, and they'd rather say something to understand and get through it and get this information out there to find justice and peace and not be a victim again, or preventative maintenance therefore so it doesn't happen. So we talked about that. I read to you some highlights from the Take It Down Act that's now in full effect. I'll put the website there, like I keep saying. Pax Rana explained what pin drop is. James DeGori explained mail fraud and with the banking industry, and the panel discussion discussed the culture shock of shifting from one into law enforcement into banking, and also conducting the different styles of investigations. What we deem may be important on one end is not so important on another, and vice versa. So that was a good conversation. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We will be live again next week. Again, this is a recording. I appreciate you guys. Tag, like, share, subscribe, hit that like button. I appreciate all of you. Therefore, I will see you guys next week. We do have a special guest coming on next week. June's going to be an incredible month. It's a great month, actually. I'll leave it there. But we got a wonderful shows lined up. We're going to continue moving that needle forward. I appreciate your support. I'm Coach Clee. I'm your motivational speaker, your empowerment coach, your author, and your favorite baker's favorite baker, saying 10-4 over and out. You guys have a good night. We'll see you next week.
Just the facts, ma'am.
Black as you is, there's a whole lot of blue still shining through.
Sergeant Be Safe is inviting you to watch this exciting and fun podcast, Black and Blue. It airs weekly at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's just for you. When we go live with a dynamic law enforcement officer or first responder, whether they're rookie, seasoned, or retiree. We talk about their trainings, experiences, and their publications. We've had tremendous guests already, and we have many, many more tremendous guests coming down the pipeline. You want to subscribe.
Sergeant Be Safe is here.
Black and Blue is on various podcasts, especially on YouTube, so make sure you guys subscribe. And don't forget about me, Sergeant Be Safe. I have my own channel too, so make sure you subscribe to that as well. We have many adventures, learning experiences, and we have fun while we do it. You guys don't want to miss it. Not only with the special guest that's being featured, you'll see video skits of me and the bad guys, Rob You Blind, Misdemeanor, Treacherous Tony, Chance Wilder, aka Wild Chance, and Sapphire Steel. And that's your tip of the day to get you on your way.
Just the facts, ma'am.
I'm not a bad cop.
I never once said you were. It would be real simple if the problem was bad cops. It ain't.